Welcome to the Jeanne Oliver Podcast, where we talk all things business, art, and lifestyle. This is your podcast for building a more creative life. Creativity is calling. Become the artist you have dreamed to be. After the podcast, meet me over at jeanneoliver.com, where you will find art, business, and lifestyle online courses. We have over 150 courses from teachers around the world. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Jeanne Oliver, and today I'm talking with food and lifestyle photographer, author, recipe creator, and entrepreneur, Cat Bude. Cat, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Great to be here.
It's so great to have you. Before we dive in, would you just tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do?
So I'm a Pacific Northwest transplant who arrived in France about 15 years ago. And we made the move for family reasons, to be closer to my in-laws and to actually just to have an opportunity to raise our kids in two cultures, which back then seemed like the right thing to do at the age that they were. And I think we had intended, I intended on giving it a 2-year try. And 15 years later, we're still here. So, and my kids have since dispersed into other countries and everything else. So yeah, it's been a really interesting journey, and it helped me to create a business and go after some personal goals that I don't think I would have been able to achieve in a different life. So this has been rewarding and interesting and sometimes hard, but pretty amazing.
The first interview I did with you was February of 2015, which was kind of crazy when I went to go search to see when that was. And it was for my video series, Creativity Takes Courage. So everybody, this was before podcasts. So this was kind of just like what you're watching now. Creativity Takes Courage was like side-by-side interview video. And I was interviewing creatives really all over the world. And so at that time, we had known each other for 3 years. At the time of that interview. So first of all, can you believe that we've known each other for over 13 years? I thought that was kind of crazy too. I've watched your kids grow up. I've watched your business grow up. I've watched you accomplish so much, and I've watched you go through really hard things. And so the first video though, and the first interview that we did together, you were getting adjusted to living in France. You were learning the language, trying to make connections, all the while trying to make Rabbit Hill a home. What do you remember now about those early days of living in France?
I remember being from the minute that we found this place, just ignited with ideas. Mm-hmm. And we found this after we were here already in France for 2 years. Mm-hmm. So we had but we didn't settle at all. We knew everything was temporary up until the point of finding this house. And the thing that struck me from the first time seeing it was having this explosion of ideas in my head about just by looking at this place. I just said, this is it. And I wasn't just looking at it as a home, a potential place to settle. I was looking at it as everything that had kind of churned around in my brain as far as where I'd like to go creatively, all of a sudden came to life. Just simply from arriving here. Mm-hmm. And everything came very naturally and very quickly as soon as we settled in. It was the early days. I still feel like it was early days of social media. So sharing things was kind of a new thing to do. And to have people start from square one, from, renovating the kitchen, creating a home, and then through the years, kind of starting the farm and then moving into all the other things that we do. It was, when I look back at those early days when we first arrived here, it's like I had no idea what the potential was. And I had no idea how much living we would do in this house. Mm-hmm. It's really, became so much more than a place that was a few steps up from what we had when we arrived. So, yeah, so that's kind of I look back I have these little micro moments of remembering certain things, like remembering maybe the day we got the chickens, or I really distinctly remember a conversation with you. And I can remember every bit about a walk that you and I took from the barn to the house. And I remember our conversation distinctly. And you were saying, oh, this is really I think you had known me a little bit by then, but you saw this change coming over. There's this something is settling or different or growing or something. And you said it at the time, and I was like, and I hadn't even noticed it yet. I hadn't recognized it myself yet. And you had said that, and I said, you're right. You're really right. And that was just, that for me is like this moment of like, boom, then it really, really started after that point.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. And doesn't it make, isn't it so important to have people even around you who see you and even see things? Because when you are putting your head down, and whether you're renovating a house or building a business or growing, like caring for a family, sometimes your head is down, like in some aspects, right? Like you're down and you're doing it. And to have somebody else and their outside perspective of this is what I see,
Right.
it's so helpful.
Yeah.
Well, I've had the joy of sitting at your table in Normandy with both of our families together. How has living in France impacted how you gather people?
I think it's influenced. I wonder if, had we not moved here, what I often envision that. I think of like, what would I be like as a hostess, or where would I be creatively? Would there be such a strong emphasis on gathering and the table being so sacred to us? And I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question, but I do feel like what has changed is honoring things that I might have let pass without noticing in a different type of lifestyle, slowing down, gathering with family, long meals, even the way we shop, the way I cook, everything. It's just this multi-layer thing. And we've always been people that love to invite people over and host. And, we've had that as a couple. We've had that forever. And it just seems like it just increases in value through the years. We were definitely when we lived in the United States, we had much more of a social life than what we have here, and friends in and out and cocktail parties and picnics and things like that. So I think that's changed a bit for us. We're more, we have small groups of very special friends. I think that a big thing with the gathering point is that family gatherings are really rites of passage into next moments of your life. So I think that is probably how I feel differently about gathering and how it's really evolved to where we are now.
Well, the gardens, the animals, your favorite room in the house, the kitchen, this beautiful 380-year-old farmhouse, the old cider barn falling over, and the cows that are roaming your property from time to time. From recipes shared to glimpses into your life in Normandy, why do you think so many of us have fallen in love with your rhythm and lifestyle?
I think the easy answer is it looks very, very dreamy. I think, and we're all looking for, long before I lived in France, my escape was, watching the films or reading the books. And I would just get lost in books about travel and food and culture. And that was my thing to really treat myself to escape from the current life or whatever it was, or even to learn things about other places. So I think, first of all, obviously, everyone knows that France has an appeal to it. There's something magical about it. Living here as a resident is different than what we're also, although I've been very conscious of always putting out the realities of things, I think it's very easy to focus on the beauty and some of those beauties are absolutely true. So to say, I think there's a lot of reasons why this interests people, why I interest people, or our lifestyle does. I think it is so different from other lifestyles around the world, and particularly the United States. And we do have amazing access to things like markets, and it does appear to be a slower lifestyle. I think that people think that there's, we question throughout the years of living here, if we were to move anywhere else, would we have the lifestyle that we have here? And so I think that's the appeal to people kind of viewing it from the outside, is that they're seeing all of these kind of pieces that look like it's sewn together. It's a really amazing, beautiful life. And I know that a lot of people know me very well, and they also know that I'm very open about all the different parts of it. And so I think that also is appealing to people, that it's not just, I'm not a travel brochure. That's not my life.
Right.
And I really do have. And France it is an amazing place to live. It's not without very similar struggles anywhere in the world. So but it's worth it. I think it's worth it when you're investing in your life and your family. So.
And I would like to add to that because I don't know about other people, but I know for me personally, because yes, if you just scroll through your feed, these are beautiful images. You're an incredible photographer. But that's not lots of, like I think about there's a lot of people that share living in France. And what I think draws people to you is that you give something that they can bring into their own home. And I think that's something that not everybody who shares their experience are sharing something intimately like make this sauce and this is like how you start this, or you don't need all of that. You just need a couple of these kinds of pots, like I don't feel like you're trying to sell us on something. Like we're already in, right? Like we're already in. You don't have to try to sell us on something. So you're not trying to, it never feels commercial. It never feels any aspect. You share when an animal dies, you share what you're growing in the garden, you share what you're harvesting. And so I feel like you are giving people like this a little more intimacy into your day-to-day life. And I think you've done a good job of sharing when things are hard and sharing when you're tired and sharing when you're worn out. And I don't think there's anything about you and what you put out that's trying to act like anything different. And so I think it's your authenticity, but also your giving. You're giving people, like that's what I love about travel. I love that when I've gone to Italy, then I can bring back a mocha pot and I can make my espresso on the stove like that, right? Or maybe you have a recipe in your favorite restaurant and you come home and you try to continue that. Or, I remember like being in England and uh and they have the brown and the white sugar cubes. And so many years ago, and that's such a simple thing with the little tongs. And I said to Maddie, we have to just have brown and white sugar cubes, like with tongs, like because they're pretty. And I think that's kind of for people who maybe will never even make it to France. You allow them to travel with you and to travel through you, and then they get to start incorporating some of those things. And so that's personally how I look at it. Also, is that you're giving people the gift of bringing a little France into their home.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I feel like it has always been my goal to make it attainable. And when I'm teaching workshops here, that was always my number one. I don't want to just show really, high style French cuisine or technique that you couldn't figure out yourself. That's not my goal. My goal is to really kind of demystify some of the formal French cooking techniques, and also to make it that empower you once you master these things to create amazing things. So attainable, and you can do this. And even if you wanted to just talk about my entire lifestyle, that would also be the goal, which would be, it doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a specific area of study. It doesn't, almost everything I think in my life that I've tried to do has been self-taught. And that's just what works for me. That's the kind of person. I was never that academic, but yet in creative things, I'm very self-taught, and not without mistakes and tons of failures, but definitely, it does enough successes that I keep going for the next thing. Yeah. But yeah, I think I had, from the day one of arriving here at this place and creating a home and renovating things, I wanted people to think you could do it. And if you don't think you can, challenge yourself and believe that you can. Raising goats, like all the crazy things that we've done through the years. I would have said to you, never in a million years would I do it. Would I do it, learn it, succeed at it, or anything? Some things certainly that we went into, I felt confident. I believed in it. But many, many, many things, I was like, I could never. A lot of them with the cooking things, side by side with my father-in-law for so many years. I was like, I'll never master. It will never be just my second nature to cook that way. And so that's the progress of the years of doing it. So, and still back to the attainability is I think if you believe in yourself, then you can look at things that other people are doing. If it's presented in a way that's attainable, I'm saying, I'm kind of mixing up my words, but I think it's like, part of my responsibility is to present it as being attainable. Mm-hmm. If I really want people to learn, right. Not to be that I have some special gift that makes it so I can do these things. Mm-hmm. So that's important to me.
Was Alon's father, especially because he was a chef, mm-hmm. And you would cook side by side, what has the loss of him done, even with you, in that intimacy of cooking with him?
I can't. Honestly, we didn't cook side by side, so to speak. Side by side in that he observed me and I observed him. Mm-hmm. And that without language, without being able to, use a lot of words and a lot of explanations, I picked up so much from him. And I don't think I realized I picked up as much as I did until after he was gone. And then it was like, and then throughout the book process, I had to dig deeply into what I remembered, because other members of the family, it was never their interest to note it. Mm-hmm. So when I went and asked for some of his recipes, what was his favorite classic thing? What was this or what was that? And some of the family members were like, I have no idea. And he never wrote anything down. And, so there was a lot of like, wow. So he passed away before I started working on the book. And during the process of 3 years of working on the book, I was absolutely determined that there would be a big section of the book dedicated to him. But it was one of the hardest ones to write for so many reasons. I mean, obviously there was some grief that was, unresolved from his death, but there was also really racking my brain to remember as much as I could so that I could honor him. Right. And trying not to pester the French family for, calling them and asking for things that they had no idea about. I mean, my brother-in-law, who's also a chef, I was stalking him for a few months over getting some information from him, and literally sending Alan over to their house to just stay there until they got the answers, because I was like, I have been asking for months. So yeah, it was interesting, the whole thing. But I think in the end, I'm just so grateful to have had the time that I did have. I'm so grateful that just by nature, I was picking up a lot of things that ended up being very important, even not knowing that he was not going to be, no idea that I was going to do a book, no idea that I would need to have his recipes, but there was still this exchange of kind of information. And so in the end, I was able to, I feel like, do justice to the experience that I gained from cooking with him and learning from him.
Well, I know that people buy your book, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. Your restored vintage copper pots, your French kitchen supplies, make your recipes, and more, because you're sharing a lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And so you and Alana have built a life in France that is authentically you. I feel like it was always authentically both of you, but there were times when you've had a hard time, like if there have been times that have been hard for you to find your footing, like of knowing maybe even like what to share, what to keep private, to put your life and your lifestyle out to the public. So I guess my question is like how have you decided that, both of you, of what you share, what you don't share?
I think in the beginning, it was very easy to share a lot without thinking too much about it. I think everyone felt more safe on social media. And, I felt that there was, your followers were people that you would want at a get together. You'd want them in the room. You'd want them. And through the years, that kind of gradually, I would say, like back when I had 2,000 followers, I was so happy because I felt like I actually knew 2,000 people. And as the years went and the followers, grew and networking grew and things like that, I felt less and less compelled to share super personal things. Or there was a couple of times if I did, and then it kind of backfired in a way that it wasn't received well, or it was misunderstood. I think that's always difficult. Questioned or misunderstood when you're really not trying to. Sometimes topics open up that you never intended to start dialogues about. There's all that, and everybody knows that happens more. So I think we have been consistently more private through the years. There's a lot. This is an interesting thing to think about, but when I started working on the book, I did feel some pressure to not say so much what was going on with us personally. In fact, I don't think I talked about doing the book until I was on the last year of working on it. And because I think sometimes you have to have just a true, clear experience without other people's input. And then I also feel like there was a little conscious voice in my head saying, you can't talk about that. Or that I did feel this pressure, especially when I was waiting to get to be connected to a publisher. You have to be successful, and you have to be happy, and you have to have your everything together. And you don't want a publisher looking at you and saying, "Oh, she's a hot mess. I can't work with her. She looks like she's going to have a nervous breakdown." So you have to really, I felt there was so much for about a year of my life that I had to just perform. If I didn't feel like posting, I had to post. I had to create new recipes. While I was creating recipes for the book, I had to create a separate set of recipes that I could put on social media. So it was kind of like this balance of trying to put out a life that looked at times very different than what it was behind the scenes. And then at the end of it, years looking back, and I don't regret, I don't think, that I did that. It was part of the process. And it got, whether or not that would have made a difference to a publisher, I don't know. I don't know that they actually even scrutinize potential authors. I think they really rely on the book proposal and the agent that you have and everything else that goes into selecting you. It was, I think.
Well, I think you can be authentic without giving every little detail of what's going on in your life.
True too. Yeah, it's true.
Two things can be true at the same time, that you're doing the best you can where you're at, you're putting out like what's still you. But I think that can be a misconception that you have to share everything if you're putting some things out.
I think the balance is in when you are misunderstood because you haven't, first of all, you assume that everybody knows everything. And sometimes I have to remind myself, especially when I'm having a hard time, I'll say, the world doesn't know this is happening for you. And that adds some strength to getting through things. Sometimes you feel like because you are exposed on social media and you're out there and you're putting out everything about your life all the time, that everyone knows that you're struggling with something. And the first time, like just to calm myself, I often say, nobody knows this is going on. You can just handle this yourself. You can handle this. You can, listen to your head, your heart, and whatever it is. So I think that's really important, especially people who are very much out in the public, feel like they don't have any privacy. We have people who have large social media presence, have a lot of people in their life that do act like they're your best friend and they know you very well, and don't treat you respectfully or treat you as you're a professional. You're a professional person. They are not my new best friend, and friends have to earn that position. So there's a lot. I think there's a lot to it. I have had some things lately that I've heard a voice that have said, "You got to say something. You got to say something," and it's like, ugh. And then you think for a moment, so many things you could say that cannot be unsaid. So even if it's sharing an event in your life or something, once it's out there, you have to be somewhat open to a discussion about it. So I think I would say in the past year or so, I really did. Since having the book out, I think I've come back to being more myself again, where I'm a lot more relaxed and I do feel comfortable sharing things. And I am better at letting things roll off when it's not received. I've taken more probably ownership of it's my life, and I can do what I want, and I make certain decisions, and my decisions aren't always going to be perfect for everyone else. As far as our business and things like that, people often like to tell you how to run your business, what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing. I'm so blessed that with the book, I've not received any negative, like, "Oh, you could have done more of this or less of this," or
I don't know how anybody could do that. Yeah, it's spectacular.
Well, yeah, thank God, because I was so worried I had my first, it was a 4.9 review instead of a 5 on Amazon. And it like took me out for a day. I could not even. And my friend was saying to me, she's like, it's a 4.9, right? And I was like, it was the first time that, and someone pointed out a mistake, that it was not my fault. There was an editorial problem with some copy editing, but whatever. It's hard. It's hard, It's hard to be critiqued. And you give people in this world a chance to criticize, they will criticize. So you have to.
A book is a big thing. And I think, too, I'd like to just say it's when I think of the times that I've put something out that wasn't just. So if somebody says something on your Instagram, you can delete it. If somebody says something on your blog, you can delete it. If somebody responds to your newsletter nasty, like, you can let it go. It is a very different thing to do something like do a podcast. And you put it out into the world where it goes across all different platforms and anybody can say anything. You take a book, you put it out into the world and it goes to Barnes and Noble, it goes to Amazon, it goes to booksellers. It is open to criticism and critiques. And I think it changes you to be able to cross that threshold. When you cross that threshold of, I actually really put something out there.
Yeah.
Because it is scary. Like, I don't know about you, but for some reason, I don't have those emotions until after I'm done and I'm about ready to have to like turn it in. So like when I like turned in my book, then it hit me for the first time. Like, oh, this is actually going to go to anybody. And I cried the first time that the podcast went live. It's as soon as I realized, like, it's like the other side of it, I cried. But it has also shown me I can take critiques. It's also shown me that it's hard. Like things can like throw me, but I'm saying, like, you are different once you do something that you no longer can control the outcome. Because like I said, if somebody's not nice on things I can control, I can take them off.
Yeah.
And if you're on any social media and things like that. But what you did by putting this book out, I think it changes you. I think it shows you what you're capable of. I mean, this is like, this is just a fraction of what you're capable of. And it's that you consistently showed up for 3 years during running a business with a family, private things going on, everything. And like, we get to hold this in our hand because you didn't stop.
Yeah.
That's pretty beautiful. And there's a world of people doing a world of things like that.
Yeah. And I think the behind the scenes, I think when the book came out, I wanted to just stand on a mountaintop and tell people exactly what the process was like. I just have no idea. I mean, how many years people were like, Cat, you have to do a book. You have to do a book. And I was like, there's no way. Like, I just did not. I was so against doing a cookbook ever. And it was only when I felt there was a sort of a trend that was changing for cookbooks to be equally narrative as they are recipes. And when I saw that, first of all, I thought, my photography had kind of developed to the point that I felt that it was essential to tell a story. And it wasn't just food pictures. Then the next part was I had so many stories in my head and everything about from the moment we arrived in France up until the current moment. And the stories just start to flow. And when I thought I could do a cookbook that was equal, like a memoir, as much as it is a really great, helpful instructional cookbook, that was when I said, okay, I'll do it. And someone also pointed out to me at that time that I had practically already written it. They said, you have the material already. You have years and years and years of writing. You have years of recipe creating and photos. And it turned out to be true that I did have a lot of material, but the sifting through and the editing part of it is really, when I look at the book myself, I see it as a tiny piece of that project. The project was, this big. And I have the files of the pictures that didn't make it in. And I have the stories and the chapters that were edited out, so you have, so for me looking at it, it's like, very happy with the way it came out. I love it, and I'm proud of it. So that's a lot. And I'm starting now. I think it's only been out for 6 months, but now I'm starting to feel like I can step back a little bit from the process that was really grueling. The hard part, being edited, is really hard.
Yeah.
Having, what landed on the cutting room floor was pretty harsh sometimes. Discussions about, there was huge back and forth about the cover design. There was huge back and forth about some of the stories that were very, very important to me. And me having to put my foot down sometimes and say, it stays. There was I learned so much.
I don't think people realize that when you're working with a publisher, you actually don't get final say on a lot of things, and you can, and then you have to pick and choose what you're going to fight and what you're going to let go.
Yeah.
And
you do have the ability to, you always have everything is up for discussion to a certain point. But you can only go back and forth so many times. They have to keep it moving. That's there's a tight timeline. By the time everything was said and done with contracting and everything else, negotiation contracts, all the back and forth, literally my working time was 6 months to get it together. And that was to take all the materials I'd already done, which I thought it was a good 70% done before it was pitched to the publisher. And it turned out, I think it was closer to like 20 or 30% done.
Wow.
For all the things that had to be recreated or redone or created fresh. And then, but I think as a first-time author, somewhere I hope that I can take this knowledge that I've learned from doing a book and share it with other people, just for the expectation. Because I spent so many times where I would have really benefited from somebody saying to me, this is how it works. This is how it works. Not this is about you. This is about you as a cook or as a photographer or as a writer. This is just how it works. And my editor was really patient and lovely, but at the same time, I don't think that they had probably the time to focus on, like, a lot of my emails ended with first-time author, sorry, because it was just, So I think that, but look, I wish I had a thicker skin about the things that were cut. I wish I hadn't, I really did torture myself a lot creatively. I had self-doubt, like unbelievable. You would look at this book and you would think it just rolled out of me. And you don't realize that I had weeks and weeks of like ready to throw it in the towel. And, when the writing part wasn't working out, or difference in artistic, preferences and things. So it was really kind of, it was grueling in a way. It did cause some growth. It definitely made me feel like I do want to build up a thicker skin. I'll definitely do things a lot differently should I decide to do another book. So there's a lot to it. But I think for now I need to really focus on this one, that this is what's come out. And it even took me a long time to even say verbally, I'm proud of it. I would say, yeah, okay, thanks. Yeah. But I wouldn't be able to even take compliments about it.
Yeah. Well, I think kind of what part of that process is that you guys run your own business, and you always have.
Yeah.
Like you ran your own businesses back in the United States. You are used to being in control of what the business is, how it's put out there, like customer service, like the words that are used, the visual of what it is. You come to France, you do the same thing. You build up, like your home, what you cook, what you guys sell, what you're writing, what you're putting out. I think entrepreneurs like that can probably be frustrating for anybody else that's having to collaborate sometimes, because we have to learn to, like you said, it would have been helpful if somebody said, this is not about you. This is just how it's done.
Yeah, exactly.
Like this is not personal, because when you're used to having the final stamp on probably almost everything, that is hard to know that you have to negotiate and a little bit more.
That you really admire. It's different when you're judged out in the world. Most of the time, I'm thinking the judgment's coming from people that don't even have the same capability that I have to do something, but they just feel like they can, say something about it. But when you're working with a publishing team, I'm looking up at these people. They are the experts, the professionals.
Yeah.
They believe in me, but it's still hard to take. It's still, the first thing that my editor ever did, thank God that she started off on this foot with me, was, so I sent her the introduction, which is quite short compared to, I sent her 60 pages for the introduction. It was supposed to be like 2. But once I got going, I was like, right. And I had, just like went on. I wrote like practically all the book and put it in the introduction. But you know what she did, which was amazing? Her first red line comment that I received back in the first series of edits was, she said, "You're a beautiful writer."
Yeah.
That was her first comment.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, "But this is really long. We're going to have to take out a lot of things. We're going to have to do this." So that was the first thing I ever saw in red in front of me. Yeah. And that was so much. It was followed later by,
right.
She was saying, "I think that there's some good stuff here and we might use it elsewhere. But for now, I think we need to stop here," at the first 2 paragraphs.
She was wise. That's somebody who has years of experience to know that she's going to have things that she's going to have to tell you, but she let those first words be that. I want to just kind of, I want to take a minute and even read a little bit from the intro.
Okay.
And so the reason I love, I don't call it a cookbook, I guess, when I talk about it, I just call it a book because that's what it feels like. It feels like, and I know you're a good writer, but you're a really good writer. I mean, as you're reading, you feel like you're there. You feel the emotion of things. I teared up multiple times, even just in the intro reading things, but I just wanted to, and I always have a pencil. So for me, as I was reading through your book, I have lines under things. I have circles. I have notes under things because I'm always this is less about cooking things. To me, I love when you can sit down and just go cover to cover and feel like I didn't just get recipes, that you learned something about the person who wrote it. So I'm going to read just a couple of things, guys, because these are the things that from the first time I read it that I underlined. A kitchen is more than a room. It's a sacred space that holds you and the hearts and the souls of every person who steps in and gathers there to be nurtured and nourished. And she goes, this book in a way, so I'm jumping all over. I'll be jumping all over, just giving you little snippets. So this book in a way is a love letter to a kitchen. It is undeniably a love letter to a life. Let's see. In this new setting in unfamiliar country, I tried to get my bearings. I sought out the rare places where I felt welcomed and normal. As it turned out, the open market, a requisite part of daily life in France, soon became one of those places. And then later down it says routines and rituals are an important part of French culture. The daily trips to the markets, the long 5-course lunches, and the common practice of taking a break in the middle of the day. I'm just going to do a few more. I love the story about in your house, the rental, and the old 90-year-old woman who wasn't a fan until you brought home your daughter, and then she goes, all that changed, however, after the birth of our daughter, when she presented us with a carefully knitted fuzzy cardigan, and all was forgiven.
That is so true. And the other part is true too, that I said that she used to leave notes on our windows. She would look in the window, and if we weren't home, she would write a note and stick it to the window. So it was really, she was a lot.
I'm gonna, one morning as I walked along the beach near our house, feeling certain I was the only one around for miles. So this is when they were at their rental. I looked out at the horizon and up in the clouds, and I had a conversation with God. Maybe I was pleading or perhaps negotiating, and I wrapped up my rant by saying anything. I will handle anything that comes my way with the grace I have never shown before, but I ask one thing. I want a house. Any house, big or small, anywhere. I want a house. I need a home. It's just beautiful. Like I feel like over and over again, like that to me, like makes me tear up because we're made to want to put down roots. We're made, you were in this country, you didn't know the language very well. You couldn't make friendships as easy as other people could. Like everything had to be at a surface level with people. You would knew basic words, but you couldn't have deep relationship with the language barrier first. And then the one thing to plead for, I need a home. Like I don't know. So I feel like the book is full of that. It is full of your beautiful writing, but that you let us into private moments and you're letting us into how, I feel like the recipes are kind of the icing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And the food and the recipes have their own stories as well.
Yeah.
Smaller stories, but connections to the other parts of the book. And I think that's, like I said, in my mind, when that happened, when I started to think about even what recipes I would share, was I went with the ones that I had a strong feeling about, like for some reason, whether it was a connection to a place or a thing or an ingredient or something, or food memories. Everybody has food memories from when they were little kids to when they're adults, smells and sensations and things. And so I think when I was given the freedom to wrap all these things up together, that's when I became at peace with doing a book. And then even more than that, when I got towards the end of being done with it, I looked back and I was like, I can see the purpose of the things that have happened since we've been in this house, and life and the changes and loss and victories and all of the things that were just before that, they were just their singular moments in time and stories. And when I wrote the book, I felt like finally it all kind of came together. It came together for a really important purpose. And I think it becomes more than an achievement that way. Like I think about through the years, had we moved someplace else, had we done something else, we are currently in a situation of moving on to something else perhaps in our life. And I say, well, thank goodness about the timing and God's timing, especially because I wouldn't have written the book if 2 years ago something else happened, whether or not it was that we went back to the United States or we found a different house or something. I don't look back at anything as being unnecessary. All of it was necessary. And it also, when the book came out, it also gives me the freedom to go to the next thing, which this had to get done. It had to get out there into the world. It had to be this story. I think my gut feels like the next book will be about a different kitchen. That's what I feel like. And that's when that story, people have asked, have you started to write the second book yet? And it's like, nope, because the story hasn't happened yet. Yeah. And that's what I feel like. No matter where we end up going, what we end up doing with our life, I think that will be the next story.
Yeah. Oh, well, you are constantly experimenting in the kitchen and tweaking recipes. Do you ever not want to make dinner? For real? Because I'm over dinner, just so you know, I've been a mom for 25 years almost, been married for 26 and a half years. And I'm like, oh, dinner. I'm afraid that when Ben moves out, that it's going to be I don't know, little nibbles of random things, but so, okay. So if it's a busy.
Here's something when that happens. One is I have the advantage of the markets here.
Yeah.
And if I feel in a slump, which I often do, I love going to the market and getting something that inspires me. And it could be simple as like one thing, a type of pepper or something.
I can agree with that because like I'm in Colorado. Our markets are only in the summer. They go till November. So it starts in May and it goes to November. It doesn't really start up until like June and then July. And then you have that till November. But there'll be many, but you're talking, the one I like is once a week. So I go on a Sunday, and very often, like I have no idea what we're going to cook that week, and everything we cook is based upon what we get. And I would think that would really change how you feel when because how often, and we'll talk about markets in a second, but how many markets a week could you go to?
For the produce, for the farmer's market kind of thing, we could potentially go to, I would think in our area, we could go to 3 different ones. So ours in our town is on Monday.
Okay. That's a great day to have a market.
It is. It's not though. It isn't.
It's not?
You've been cooking all weekend. The last thing you want to do is like wake up early, and Mondays are Monday, no matter what.
Yeah.
So I don't like the rush of having to get out to the market early enough to get the goods. And it does change up the week, though, if I remember how I feel when I get back to the kitchen, putting things out on the counter, then all of a sudden you're thinking about the weeks. So it does definitely help. The other thing, in the summertime, starting pretty soon, I think it's the beginning of June, the markets are every day in certain towns.
Oh.
So you could potentially go every day. The one in my Alan's parents' town is every day in the summertime in Deauville. So that one is. So you have access. The other way I want to mention that I change things up, if this is helpful to people, is I often eat vegetarian. So, which is very odd after doing a French cookbook that's quite a bit of meat options in it, meat focus. But and that really wakes me up again when I have to think differently about food. I think where we get in ruts is where we just see food and making dinner as the same thing, feeding people just food, versus let me think about a different flavor. I love all cultural type, anything from all the Asian food, Indian food. So I'll switch it up. That's how I get back into the kitchen. Yeah. When we recently had a bunch of family and German exchange student, and our house was just full. And my son came home, Maxine came home with his girlfriend who's from the Czech Republic. They're both vegans now. Trying to serve authentic French food to the exchange student from Germany. There were so many different variations going on in my kitchen that I was like exhausted when they left, but I was like, regular cooking was amazing after that because it was just so easy. It was like, I don't have to think about the vegan thing is really hard for me. And vegetarian is easy, but there's things I do to get out of the slump. When I was working on the book, it was comical how much I didn't even want to eat. I didn't want to cook. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to do anything. There was days and days I just never left this office. I just worked on it. I was exhausted. I was, going through everything. A lot of the stories from the book are emotional, as you pointed out. So you put a lot into it, telling that story and going through it, experiencing it emotionally as you're telling it and sharing it. And even just our journey of getting settled in France is so, it's really put out there in the book. It wasn't all, the adjustment of feeling integrated into the French family was a huge, that was a huge issue. Knowing that they were all going to read the book at some point was really interesting, like treading softly on some of the topics where I wanted to be able to mention it because it is a reality, the reality of integrating into a new culture and let alone a family that's very established is not easy. So so it was kind of like, so yes, we did do a lot of pizza and there was plenty of nights that it was just wine for dinner because that was the only thing I could do was open a corkscrew. That was my capacity that night. So,
well, I think we've kind of touched on even the markets and how it really impacts your food planning, desire to cook. But I want to talk about the connections with your local farmers. And especially you said like in the beginning, I think like that was kind of like your touchstone to go to the markets, to make relationships with them, a place you felt welcome. the place that they probably gently taught you things.
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
assuming also. So how did the markets impact your day-to-day life? But like in relationship to like the men and women you were meeting at the market? Like how did that give you a little bit of community in the beginning?
Mhm. Yeah, I did, and it was because I had, as I mentioned in the book, I was able to go to the markets by myself. I felt enough that I could speak enough French, and definitely I could speak all things food. That it was like a great place for me to test out the French that I knew. And after going to the same markets over and over again and the same vendors, they recognized you, and they were really so welcoming. You know, they knew I was going to make mistakes. Like if there's one that has never forgiven me when I asked for like 2 kilos of spinach, it would take probably a truck load of spinach to get to 2 kilos. But I was just so excited to see this like fresh, beautiful spinach that he started to put it in the bag. And I was like, he's like, how many kilos? And I was like, hold up my hands, 2. And he was like, wait, like filling this bag, getting another bag, filling the bag. And so he still says that when I come by. He's like, oh, how much spinach do you want? Yeah. And then being corrected when I asked for certain things that were out of season. So I learned so much about the season, the seasonal
Yeah.
thing. Not to say that now, I mean, now we are long distance food is everywhere. It's not we just went to our market this past Monday, and the spring market is a little bit more filled up than the winter markets are. But there's citrus, there's tropical stuff, it's there. It's not that we go, oh, we only eat what is picked off the tree or out of the ground that day.
But the nice thing about learning seasonal is the nutritional value of that is very
Yeah.
high compared to if you're in the grocery store and it's coming from a long distance. I mean, it is a different nutritional value. Like then, I mean, your spinach when you're getting it fresh is gonna like be better for you than something in the grocery store. I mean, it's nice that you can get other things too around you, but I think the thing that's so beautiful about seasonal is that I think too, then you don't get, maybe you do get super tired of it by the end of that season. But I love that in the book you talk about you ask for celery.
Yes, yeah,
And
which seemed normal to me.
yeah, because I mean, we can get celery any day, anywhere, in any market, I mean, grocery store in the United States.
And that
And
was the training for me because we were going to markets long before we started growing things ourselves on the
mhm,
farm. So even in planning my garden, I now think more in winter vegetables, cold weather vegetables, rainy vegetables. Like all the different things. So it's a constant learning about things. So I probably learned so much more than in every way. I learned language. I learned about local produce. I learned about farming, and I learned. I mean, I think one of the big eye openers for me was the meat industry and everything. Going from I spent a good decade being a vegetarian, and then slowly, once I was married, going back to eating meat, but sort of, really limiting that, and then now to be able to go to producers that we know the farms. There's something about knowing that you could pop over to that farm and make sure that those animals are okay,
mhm.
that makes it it makes it easier to be more, I guess they call it these days, flexitarian, where you go back and forth between vegetarian and it makes a big difference to me. I definitely became more aware of how animals are treated more than, like there's certain types of meat and things that we don't eat because there's only industrial options available. So it's really, I've probably learned so much in the past 15 years that we've been here, more than I could have ever anticipated
About
about
food.
everything
Yeah,
with
yeah,
food.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
everything to do
yeah.
with it. So I feel like it was another entire university degree for me to learn all of these things. And I'm so grateful to be able to do it. And again, that's another thing that causes us to really, if we were to move on to someplace else, to really consider it carefully, because and even just our relationships in our town, we talk about that a lot. Interestingly, we've never stayed in one place ever this long. As a couple, we moved every 2 years. As a family, I think the longest was 4 years. So for us to be in the same town for this amount of time. We've seen things come and go and progress and some not so good. And I think it's the relationships that we have here would be really difficult to leave. I love that the butcher knows us. I love that he sets aside, the things that I'm really looking for. I love that we get phone calls from the fish market when the mussels are in. So I think all of those things are really amazing and unique.
You and your husband have worked together for years, and you both have exceptional giftings in very different areas. Your online vintage shop has changed over the years, and you're really known now for your restored vintage copper pots. And so, how did you both even start doing this? I have so many, guys. They're beautiful. They're my favorite. And I like the ones, I love the little RH stamped in. I love that. Do you still do that?
No, but not.
Well,
Alan wants to. So here's the. You can get to know so much about one particular thing that you forget that other people don't know the same thing. So when you get a copper pot, for example, and it has a trademark on it, it's not a fancy brand. It is, as they're producing this pot, the last thing they do is they just slam a stamp on there. They hand hammer a stamp. And so sometimes you only have half the stamp that you can read. Sometimes it's crooked. Most often it's crooked. And so Alan used to get really excited about putting the RH, as he would like the continuation of all the stamps. So every artisan that handles that pot should have their stamp on it. Mm-hmm. But sadly, there was a lot of people that we sold to that didn't like a crooked RH on their pot.
What?
So yeah, I bet they didn't get it. And so they were like, I don't want to have.
Do you want me to call them? I'm going to call them. I want a list of names, and I'm about ready to spend the rest of my day. Oh, I think it's actually what I get the most excited. Like in Round Top, there's a gentleman who restores French copper pieces, and he'll also have knives, and he'll have things, and if I find something that has the stamp in it of the person who made that, that feels like I just hit the jackpot.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there's a lot of people that complained about it, but I just felt like until we could refine how we were stamping it, I really wanted to get a stamp that was the entire, said Rabbit Hill instead of just the RH. So we just kind of went away from it. It was hard to figure out where to put it, that it would be complementary to the other stamp. And so anyway, it was kind of an artistic decision not to.
Well, Jeanne Oliver liked the RH.
Okay, and you got yours.
All right.
Yours is very important, though. Yours is you could probably sell it on eBay for so much more now.
Well, I'm not going to. I'm going to hold on to it forever. All right.
To answer your question on how we got to it, the easiest answer is to say that we got the copper pots from Alan's dad. And we got them while he was still with us, and a large amount of them. Some of them were beyond restoration. And at the time, we didn't know what restoration was. So we hung them in the barn as decor. Mm-hmm. They were literally in our goat room hanging from the ceiling. And then
I remember that.
You went in that. Yeah. So when I think in 2016, we started to sell the ones that we were finding at the flea market, but not restored. We would just do what most people do, is just give them a little polish, make sure they were safe. There wasn't that much wear or show through of the tinning. And then we would sell them, but pretty inexpensively because we weren't putting that much work into them. And then Alan just said, this is the type of world where you can just watch a few videos and figure out how to do something. And he's like, I'm going to do tinning. I was like, okay, I was like, okay, honey, you go do that. I'm busy. Go find something to do.
And he did. Wow.
Yeah, and he did. And he's been working and perfecting it, and really working on his skills as much as we can do with the current setup that we have. It's really super lovely and charming that we do it here on the farm. It's not the best setup that we could have. And so we've gone, tried to look at the potential of expanding and doing something a little bit more professional. But then copper sales go up and down. And some people, one of the big eye openers for me was several years ago, I did a cooking with copper online workshop, which was really well attended. People loved it. But what I found out through that was a good 60% of people that buy copper cookware from us never cook with it because they just don't know. They don't know how. And they're worried about it. They're scared of it. So I am going to do that again, that same workshop again. I'm right now revising the ebook that went with it. But yeah, it's really interesting. So I think the copper comes and goes. People seem to love the decorative copper that we sell as well. And then there's always a very high demand for the vintage, always. That never changes. So
it's beautiful. There's nothing like it. Though it's the weight of it, of the vintage. And yeah, I love it so much. All right. Well, so can you give us a glimpse into the rhythm of the farm as you're going into summer? And is there anything new that you're planting this year, or have you gotten any new animals?
So, opposite of what you're saying, we decided last year, about the middle of the summer, that it was time to start reducing the farm. So we've gone the other direction. So we, as of last August, rehomed the goats. That was the hardest.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the hardest thing to do. So we had 9 of them. Most of them were class of 2020. The COVID kids. That year we had 12 kids born.
Whoa.
So yeah. So the thing is, after 2020, we stopped milking and we stopped breeding. So that suddenly makes the goats even more of country club members that don't. And the fact is that they were young, well-bred, beautiful. And we thought, we don't have it with me doing the book.
Right.
With our business up and down. I mean, our business has been, like so many businesses, just really struggling the last 3 or 4 years. And we thought something's got to give here.
Yeah.
And we kind of had a situation where we tried to go to the US, have a vacation, find someone to take care of the farm. It was just this huge, we got back and everything was like, oh. And so we looked around, and I think Alan, for a while, he was like, let's get rid of all the animals. I'm like, no. So we ended up finding a really good farm that wanted to take all of them. And that was the deal breaker for me, was like, they have to all go together because they're all related one way or the other. Most of the kids had the same dad. And so anyway, they're all somewhat related.
But just think of how your life has changed over 15 years. I mean, because how old are the boys now?
So Maxime is 26 and Leo is 21.
Yeah. I mean, so really you have one at home.
Yeah.
And then with you traveling more, and you've been going out into the United States more to teach workshops and even on book tours and everything, like your life is shifting. And so I can see that too.
Things have been shifting for a while, for a few years, I think. I think working on the book kind of temporarily suspended a lot of the things that were moving, a lot of the things that were heading in different directions. So rehoming the goats, deciding not to add any significant, mostly four-legged farm creatures, was a very wise decision. Not an easy one, but a wise one. And I am a true believer in God's timing of everything. And I felt like, if you feel a nudge of something that you need to make a change and you don't make the change because you're wanting maybe a bigger answer, then I think you're not going to propel yourself towards that answer. So I made the decision we made the decision that the goats could go. And it just worked out perfectly because it was the 2 weeks leading up to that. They were just so misbehaved. It's like we were getting daily calls from people. They're like, your goats are on the road again. Like, oh, God, we couldn't keep them in. They were just becoming masters of breaking out. Everything out in the world was so much more interesting than our farm. And anyway, it was like, I have to say the first thing we felt was just this relief. Like the week after they were gone was like, knowing that they were in a good, happy farm where they were going to be used for breeding and for milk, and that we were, no longer having to worry about constantly looking out the window during the day, me calling Alan and saying, come help me get the goats back, so it was a lot. The sheep we still have, and sheep. They just don't do anything. Sheep are just amazing. Sheep just you can just leave them for years and not, just make sure they have some water. That's it. And we do shear them twice a year, but it's still fun. It's not even a big deal. Yeah. And then as far as the feathers go, we have more geese than we've had in a while. And we have lots of chickens and ducks, and those are okay. You can add and subtract those easily. So it's not and I don't mean by subtract, we don't eat them, but we just, so it's like, we're trying to keep things manageable, just to be open to whatever's coming up next.
No, I think that kind of leads perfectly to what I want to ask next is, so many people listening, there's going to be creative dreams in them. What do you think? I'm going to ask two parts of this question. So what you have been able to create, like the different, like revenues in your business, anything from the online shop to the live workshops, to the book, to the ebooks, to like different things that you're offering. What do you think made it possible because of who you are, like how you've just been made? Like as that entrepreneurial spirit, what do you think it is about how you've been made that has allowed you to show up consistently when you don't want to? When you're tired, when you're worn out, when life is hard, when there's a million other things. And then the second part of the question is, what actions do you take that are not because they're innately, in you, that you actually have to fight against, and that you show up anyways? So what is a strength? And then what is something that, in another aspect, I would say it's you showing up anyways consistently that you think has made the difference in you guys growing this business and being able to, finish a book. A lot of people start things. A lot of people start things. A lot of people have actually beautiful ideas, really good dreams, amazing things that could change their family. Just like you said, we are changing some things in our life because we feel there's a shift. We know there's something coming and we are preparing for it. I know we've just been through that and we still don't even think we're all the way through that shift. We had to prepare for it and to be open to it. And you start saying no to things, good things. You start saying no to really good things because I can feel it. I can feel it. And so, I know that's a big, big question. Anything you want to share back about that, I'd love to hear.
I think that what I have discovered is probably resilience. I think resilience is probably the story of our life. And that's, and resilience, not in its just strict definition of surviving, but experiencing things with the motivation to keep going no matter what. And then also having some sort of curiosity about the future, about your capabilities, about your talents. I think you can't just, I felt like for many years, my resilience was more about just getting beaten up and still going. And there's a lot of spiritual struggles that I've had with the way our life has gone, things that happened that I didn't understand, or that there wasn't a purpose. There's not always a purpose for everything that happens. And I think that the bottom line is, I think people used to call me, when I was younger, people used to call me tenacious. And it's to turn it into something that is above just surviving. You just keep going. And recognizing things with gratefulness, I think, and being kind to yourself. And so I think that you have to have all of this toolbox of stuff to keep going. I also for some reason, I have a brain that works, that just has ideas. And I'm very good at tuning into things that I love and projects that I love. And I know how to go to projects and do those when I'm, for me, many times it's the kitchen brings me back to me. And Other times it could be graphic design. It could be something creating brand stuff. I love brand stuff. I love challenges. And then being kinder to yourself, where like every decision that we made for our business has not always been good. We had some pretty silly things that we did. Looking back, they're pretty silly. But the thing was, is I loved doing them when I was doing them.
Yeah.
And then later people will be like, oh, I loved when you did that or you sold that. And it's like, ah. And they're like, they don't see that you had thousands and thousands of dollars of that thing in your warehouse that no one was buying.
You're the only one buying it.
When are you going to sell that thing again? And I'm like, where were you?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there was a lot of things. And then, but I try to look back at anything that you would say is it would qualify as being a failure. And I say, well, I was having fun at the time. It did work for a little while. And then I think that's where the curiosity kicks in, is where you go, what could have been, what can I learn from that? What could I do differently? What can I try differently going forward? Or maybe it's just the decision to just never do anything that's even similar to that again. It just all works out that way. Yeah. So, was that, there was more to the question.
Yeah. No, like, I think that's a good, and I think you've answered this again and again, even from the beginning, in different ways. And so I want to talk about for a little bit, just for a little bit about your husband had cancer. Am I right? Like, is it 9 years ago that when everything started?
8. Yeah, it was 2017. Okay. Yeah, 2017 was the time.
And so, you worked so hard during that time helping him fight cancer, to caring for your children, keeping your home and your business going in the midst of all of that. How did that really difficult time impact your current life?
I think the biggest way it impacted our life was that how long it lasted after. Like the many, many years, everything of the cancer year seeped into the years that followed. And I think that was the biggest shock for us, was we were, the type of cancer that Alan had was treatable and most likely never reoccurs. So we knew that from the start. So we knew that if we could get through this 1 year of incredibly hard treatment, we had a good chance of resuming a somewhat normal life after, physically for him, I think. Took many years because, radiation and chemotherapy are the worst things you can do to your body to kill something that's killing you. Yeah. And, but what I think we felt was, once we were out of the woods and we had a good prognosis for the future, that things would go back to normal. And for me, it's interesting. You would think that we would look back at that year of 2017 and say, worst year of our lives. We loved that year. Isn't it strange? Yeah. Because one thing that is distinctive to me about that year was we were fighting one thing. And that seems like it was very simple compared to how life now continues, where there's multiple things all the time and there's multiple things in the air. And multiple questions. So we were allowed to focus just for a year on one thing, and that was surviving a year. Yeah. So everything seemed very simple to our family. We just had to love each other, take care of each other, get through it. Like if someone said to you, "Good morning, Jeanne, the only thing you have to do today is get through the day." That's the only thing you have to do. No rules, nothing else. You would be pretty happy about it. Yeah. If your to-do list was the one item. Yeah. So I think what was surprising for us was when 2018 hit, instead of celebrating the clear scans and the beginning of the healing, for me, it was a very hard year because I finally was able to realize what we went through. And I held it together so much in 2017 that when 2018 hit, I broke because I could finally do it. I could finally, could not have to hold it together all the time for my family. Yeah. Yeah. So, and not have to hold it together for Alan. Yeah. So when 2018, I became very physically ill myself, and just really all of the stress hit, when it shouldn't have been. Everyone was saying in our family, well, he's better. He's fine now. He's safe. And I was, all of the times where people had said in 2017, they said, "You're handling this so beautiful. You have so beautifully. You have so much grace." Da, 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 da. It was so painful to hear that all the time.
Yeah.
Because I was losing it. And
isn't it kind of crazy about our bodies and our minds is that there was nothing, you were doing the job because of your children and your husband and your business. You were doing what you had to do. What's so interesting, and so many people will say, oh, I had the exact same thing happen, when your body and mind could reveal how hard it was, it did.
Yeah. And it was almost in a PTSD fashion. It was when you think that you're fine, but you're so easily brought down by stress and brought down by, and then finally it was my turn to go to the doctor, and that revealed a lot of stuff. And it was like, wow, okay, somehow cancer seems a little simple now, because now there's these other things. So, I mean, we were just taken out for a couple of years, really.
Yeah.
And even with the business, trying to then ride the wave. And then, interestingly enough, when COVID hit, it was for our family a really good thing, because first of all, we got confined together, all of us safely together, and we loved it. We loved, and some people do say this, and that's not to say that it wasn't really horrific and a huge amount of loss and stress and a lot of things happened to people. But here where we were stuck in a place that we love. We were all together on the farm with a bunch of baby goats. And, it was pretty magical, and it was quiet, and it was just us being together as a family. So it was almost this odd healing time for us, finally, after 2018 and 19, really struggling. 2020 was a time just to breathe and to slow down. And it was a weird, strange world to live in, but we all came out the other side. So, so that's kind of I wouldn't change anything. I would, we learned so much. We got stronger as a family. We got stronger as a couple. I would say that my advice to anyone that's running into something similar with a cancer diagnosis or something, I think your two main things is learn everything you can about it. So you have to understand it, understand the beast that you're up against, and then build your support group and gather your people, because that's the only way to get through it. And you don't have to be okay every single day. You don't have to be the strong one. So that's probably what I learned from that.
All right. I would like to close with one last question.
Okay.
So, which I feel like you may even know this right, the tip of your tongue. Who knows what's coming for you? But if you were not an author and a photographer, and you did not teach cooking and so many of the beautiful things you do, what would your alternative career choice be?
I think it would still relate to that. I don't think I could ever shed those parts of me. So I would say still somewhere in teaching, definitely teaching, definitely writing more. Writing. I don't think I could. I can't think of anything that's very diverse from those things. It's hard to put myself in a different, I could have done this, or I would have been this, or.
Do you think more teaching, what helped you see that? Was it some of the trips back to the United States and some of the teaching that you've done? Because can I add, I said I was the last question, and I'm a liar. So coming back to the United States, what have you found that you've missed about being back in the States? Maybe nothing. I don't know if you've missed anything. What new ideas have come to you because of traveling back to the United States?
I think so. I now miss a lot less things about the United States and a lot more people. So it used to be, I had my huge list of all of those things you just can't find in France. And now, obviously, we've been here for more than a decade. So we find things that we have replacements or we have things we like better. I still get huge care packages from friends and family, though. And so, I miss Trader Joe's when I'm here. I miss like simple things. I miss coffee dates with girls. I miss, there's some things, shopping and coffee and just really, I think having a tribe of women friends close by.
Yeah.
And so I think there's just things that we can't replicate it and we can't ever, I think when I travel to teach, it again brings me so close to who I am and who I should be. And even if we teach here at the house, I feel like it's like I almost have this out of body experience where I'm looking at myself with people teaching them and I'm loving what I see. Like I love that, what it brings out in me. It's like one of the most positive reinforcements that I am doing what I should be doing.
Yeah.
Where sometimes when I'm sitting at my desk and I'm working on the online shop or doing customer service or shipping and all those things that all this just have to happen.
Yeah.
I'm doubting it. I'm like, so what do I want to do? I think I finally come to this point in my life where I'm able to look at things that I love and identify them really quickly, like really know what I want to be doing.
Yeah.
I'm still not able to not do the things I don't want to do as much because I don't know if that time will ever come.
Yeah,
but
life.
I think it's really important to get to know yourself. And I think it's also to be in tune to yourself creatively is super important. As soon as you're feeling stagnated or not at peace with it, it's really important to find what is the activity that brings you back to it.
Yeah.
So I would say traveling, first of all, I need to do those trips.
Yeah.
I need to get back and see people. I need to, I just need to see people. And I know that. And I do feel like sometimes living here is like being on an island and I don't get to see my groups and my people. So that having the book has helped with that. It's helped with, having a reason that I need to budget trips and make plans to go and keep things lively, to keep myself, So I'd say that's probably, but it takes years and years and years to get to that point. Sometimes you either just doing the grind every day and just putting up with it, or you're questioning yourself or you're doubting yourself. And, I think being in anything that's online where you're selling something to distant places to understand shopping patterns and economy and all these things. And some days, no matter how hard you work or what you're doing, you're still not going to make ends meet or whatever it is. And it's just constantly, it's never boring. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
I'm ready to move on to something. I'm not sure what it is. It's different when you're kids. I mean, you're going through so much right now with your kids all growing. I mean, I still think of the family gathering on our dining room table. Your kids were little.
Yeah.
Mine was little.
Yeah.
My last one was little, but they were little.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have weddings and university degrees and all this stuff. And it's like, wow, how did that happen?
No,
we don't give ourselves a chance to catch up to like where we've been aging alongside of them.
Yeah. No, we're not.
No, we're not. That's right. It's harder, more difficult,
but we have grown and changed. Our businesses have grown and changed as they are too. And then you're at these milestones for your children, but they're also milestones for us. They're also like things will open up differently that you can now say yes to certain things that maybe, we couldn't say yes to before. And I think it's an exciting time also. I think and where you're at right now, and in some part, even with us, there's this expectancy. Like you can feel it in the air. There's a shift and you can feel it. And, and like I said before, we have been preparing for it. you're preparing for it. You have to make room. You have to put down things that are even good things to make room for where you're going. And it's going to be a really amazing to watch and see what that is for you, and where that's going to take you. And so would you just please tell our listeners where they can find you, where they can buy your book, where they can sign up for your newsletter and see more of what you are doing?
So the website kind of encompasses everything that we're doing. So our website is rabbithilllifestyle.com. It has recipes, a recipe library. It talks about the book. It tells our stories. It talks about our events, things that we have planned. So it's kind of, we finally really did put everything in one place, where we used to have an e-commerce site that lived elsewhere, and then we would have a blog this, so we finally have one, really lovely box with a ribbon on top. So that's the place I'm probably most active, is on Instagram as far as sharing. And then we also have a newsletter that goes out. The newsletter is something that really went to sleep, I have to say, for the last couple of years. When I was writing the book, I was not able to split my brain and do those different things. So it became a lot, very much shop news oriented, which everybody was lovely and patient about really having to. I still have to pitch the shop, even though I'm not doing any blog posts or sharing recipes. But I'm just starting to come back. I really do feel like so something happened in the beginning part of this month, like April hit, and then all of a sudden I'm feeling like, oh, I can post again, and I can just go out randomly around the farm with my camera and take pictures, and I'm feeling a lot more present. And
a book launch is a big deal. It's like it takes, I mean, and so you were traveling out of the country and everything for it. So I'm glad that you're starting to feel like there's room in your day for whatever you want to do.
It's really amazing that even people who have been with me for years have recently reached out to me and said that they can feel the change for me too. And they've loved my recent newsletters, and they've loved my sharing has changed. It's less like I'm sharing now, I think, less about, that required post that you must do every day to stay in the, whatever, the reasons that we all have to keep a presence on social media, otherwise we'll just disappear. I've been able to let go a lot of that must do, should do thing, pressure, and just really, again, back to like, I want to share a picture of this. I want to share this recipe. I'm going to make this right now. Even if it doesn't make sense, I'm just going to do it and share it because I want to. And so I think people can feel that sometimes. And so people have been really great and sent really sincere messages of support, saying that I think they're seeing me again, which I felt like, I think she took some time off. Look, came back. So, I mean, it feels good. It feels like I can't believe that I'm saying this. If you had talked to me 2 months ago, I would be saying everything's up in the air. I don't know what's going on. Still feeling so much pressure about the book, and that it's successful, and now I just feel like things have shifted, like you were saying, and I also feel like the important things have really come to the top, and also the piece about letting go of the other things, just the big thing about timing and the future. So it feels good. So answer your question. Find me on my website. Find me on Instagram. Reach out to me. Join my newsletter. Our shop is no longer just a once a month pop up. It's now it's there all the time. You can shop all the time, and we regularly add new things, usually about once a week. So with big inventory once a month. So.
Well, thank you so much for this time, and it's dinner time there, and so what they make for you? What
I know
is food waiting for you? Well,
more importantly, is the wine open yet?
yeah, right. So thank you so much. I have loved being able to have this time to connect and to hear more of what's going on. Thank you for writing the book, and thank you for sharing just your life with us and sharing recipes and giving us ways that we can kind of bring a little bit of that into our own homes. And so thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I created a free resource and mini workbook just for you. 10 tips to take back the peace for a more beautiful life. A free ebook if you're looking for some rest in your day-to-day like I was. Go to jeanneoliver.com/10tips to get your free resource. Creativity is calling. Become the artist you have dreamed to be. After the podcast, meet me over at jeanneoliver.com, where you will find art, business, and lifestyle online courses. We have over 150 courses from teachers around the world.